In the quiet countryside lived Dr. Alistair, a brilliant heart surgeon. He had everything a person could dream of: fame, wealth, and a string of successful surgeries that had earned him a legendary reputation. Yet, with every peak scaled, he felt an emptiness grow. He had achieved it all. And now, with no new mountains to conquer, his days felt hollow. His biggest challenge was no longer in the operating room, but in finding a reason to wake up with the same fire he once had. The only thing left was one final award, the nation's highest honor for a physician, to be presented in a grand ceremony 2 days away in a distant city. It was meant to be the crowning jewel of his career, but to him, it felt more like an epilogue to a story already finished. Far from his comfortable life, in a remote village nestled between rolling hills, lived an elderly woman named Ilara. Her life was a stark contrast to the doctor's. With no family to support her and very little money, she faced each day with a courage born of necessity. Her biggest battle was a severe heart condition, a ticking clock in her chest that the village's small clinic was unequipped to handle. The villagers, full of sympathy but lacking resources, would often speak of a miracle worker, a famous heart surgeon from the city who could supposedly work wonders. "Only he can save you, Ilara," they'd say, their words a mixture of hope and helplessness. Ilara had nothing but this sliver of a story and an unshakable faith. She prayed every day, not with desperation, but with a calm certainty that God would not abandon her. Her belief was her only medicine, a constant reassurance that help was on its way. So, their lives ran on parallel tracks, separated by distance and circumstance. The surgeon, surrounded by luxury, but starved for purpose, and the old woman, surrounded by poverty, but rich in faith. The night before the award ceremony, Dr. Alistair boarded his flight. He settled into his first-class seat, his mind already on the predictable speeches and polite applause. But fate, it seemed, had a different itinerary planned for him. Halfway through the journey, the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. A severe, unexpected storm had erupted, making it impossible to continue. The plane was being diverted and would land at the nearest airport, a small regional hub in a state he barely knew the name of. Once on the ground, the news was definitive. All flights were grounded for the foreseeable future. The storm was relentless. Panic began to bubble within Dr. Alistair. He was a man of precision and schedules, and this chaos was infuriating. "I have to get to the city," he insisted to the airline staff. "The ceremony is in my honor. I cannot be late." The staff, accustomed to frustrated travelers, offered the only solution they could. "Sir," one attendant suggested gently, "the roads are clear for now. You could rent a car. It's about a 6-hour drive from here." 6 hours. It was a daunting prospect, but the thought of missing his own ceremony was worse. Without a second thought, he agreed, quickly rented a car, and sped out of the airport, determined to outrun the storm and reclaim his schedule. He drove for 3 relentless hours, the city lights giving way to dark, winding country roads. The initial adrenaline wore off, replaced by a deep-seated exhaustion and a gnawing hunger. The rain started to fall again, lashing against his windshield. He realized he hadn't eaten since before his flight. Peering through the rain-swept darkness, he saw a faint, flickering light in the distance, a single point of warmth in the vast, stormy night. It seemed to come from a small, humble cottage just off the road. Desperate for a moment's respite, he pulled over the car's tires crunching on the gravel. He approached the little house and knocked gently on the weathered wooden door. The door creaked open to reveal Ilara. She looked at the well-dressed stranger standing on her doorstep, drenched and weary, and her heart filled not with suspicion, but with compassion. She welcomed him in without a moment's hesitation, inviting him to sit by her small, crackling fireplace. She offered him a simple meal of warm bread and soup, and a cup of hot tea. It was all she had, but she gave it freely. As Dr. Alistair Achi, the warmth of the food and the quiet kindness of the old woman began to melt his frustration. He felt a peace he hadn't experienced in years. After he had finished, his professional habits kicked in. "Thank you for your incredible kindness," he said, reaching for his wallet. "Please, allow me to repay you for the food and shelter." Ilara simply shook her head, a gentle smile on her lips. "Your gratitude is payment enough, sir," she replied softly. "But if you wish to do something for me, I would ask for a prayer." He looked at her, puzzled. "A prayer?" he asked. "Yes," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I have a very sick heart. The villagers say only one man can help me, a great surgeon named Dr. Alistair. I have been praying that God will somehow guide me to him, or him to me. As Dr. Alistair heard his own name, the world seemed to stop. The award, the flight, the storm, the diversion, the long drive through the night, it all clicked into place like a divine puzzle. He looked at this faithful old woman, whose unwavering hope had brought him, the very doctor she was praying for, to her doorstep. Tears welled up in his eyes, tears of awe and humility. The emptiness he had felt for so long was suddenly filled with a profound sense of purpose. He took a deep breath. "My dear lady," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "God has answered your prayer. My name is Dr. Alistair Ilaras." Ilara's eyes widened, and tears of joy streamed down her face. She fell to her knees, thanking God for this unbelievable miracle. The doctor gently helped her up, promising her the best care at his hospital, completely free of charge. The ceremony he had been so desperate to attend was forgotten. He had just received a far greater honor. A few weeks later, Ilara was in his state-of-the-art hospital, receiving the treatment that would save her life. And Dr. Alistair, the surgeon who thought he had nothing left to achieve, had finally found his purpose again, not in an award, but in a storm, a detour, and an old woman's unshakable faith. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content.